All right, so today I wanted to start by talking about this story out of NBC News. And they say former First Lady Michelle Obama calls on tech companies to permanently ban President Trump from their platforms and put policies in place to prevent the technology from being used by the nation's leaders to fuel insurrection. Now, there's a lot of aspects that you could break down when it comes to this story, but I think the biggest one is this is going to be a sign of things to come. Censorship is going to be a sign of things to come. And why is that? Is because, well, number one, the Democrats have control of everything right now. So there's going to be little to no opposition to censor. I mean, there wasn't even nearly enough opposition before to censorship. But I think now it's going to be even less, which it was, like I say, pretty much non-existent to begin with. So that's going to be a sign of things to come. And again, the first thing, and another very important thing that I wanted to point out too, is that make sure you check me out on those other platforms. Again, all the links are below, so you can find them all there. Like I've been bringing up lately, it's only a matter of time until pretty much anyone with any credibility is banned off these mainstream platforms, the YouTubes and the Twitters of the world. So make sure you check me out on those other platforms. Again, like I say, very important that you do that. But again, like I say, the big point here too is that this is just going to, I think, completely open the door for massive amounts of censorship. They've already doubled down on censorship this year, and I think they're going to do it even more now because, again, like what legitimate pushback can one provide now? Like what legitimate pushback can one provide? It's just not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. And again, this isn't necessary. I mean, I'm sure that most of these Democrats, if they had it their way, they would want massive censorship. But this is mainly something that the tech platforms are just doing unilaterally, right? They're just doing it unilaterally. They're just deciding by fiat, executive fiat, just to ban these people. And again, there's no real legitimate reason behind what they're doing. They simply just want power. And again, they fooled people into thinking that it's just going to be the crazy people, and now they're probably fooling people into thinking, oh, it's just going to be people calling for violence and all this garbage, even though Trump was banned, from Twitter for whatever it was, 12 hours. I mean, and he may still be banned. Um, and the last thing he sent out was condemning the violence again. So this doesn't have anything to do with violence. This is entirely a political thing. And again, if they were concerned about violence, they would be banning Antifa, or at least the Antifa accounts that are calling for violence. They would be banning some of these foreign leaders that are calling for violence, or at the very least committing violence. Are they banning any of these people? No, they're not banning them, and they're not banning them because they serve their cause, right? They're these big tech platforms' criteria for banning people is based off, it's a political thing, right? It's a political thing and it's a power thing, right? And that, again, a lot of people have brought up, oh, they wouldn't do it for political reason. They would lose money. Well, I don't think that's the case. Like, I really don't think that that's the case. Again, I think it is kind of a money thing. I think it's kind of a money thing. But if it wasn't a money thing, then why would they ban Trump? Like, why would they ban Trump? Like, how many people are on Twitter just because of Trump? How many people are going to leave Twitter because Trump gets banned? How many people are going to leave Facebook because Trump gets banned? Like a lot of people. So again, if it was a money thing and if it wasn't a political thing, then they wouldn't be banning Trump. Like again, like this garbage is over. No, he never called for violence. Again, the last tweet he sent out before getting banned was condemning the violence. So again, this isn't a violence thing. The obvious solution, the obvious point here is uh, they banned him for political reasons, right? They banned him for political reasons. And I think that Trump made a lot of mistakes here as well, and that Trump should have joined Parler and some of these other platforms because, again, like he had to have known that he was going to get banned at some point. And I think this is one of the biggest problems with Trump is that he oftentimes surrounds himself with bad people, which again, maybe that's just a problem on his part. Maybe it's just bad. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an optics thing. I don't know what exactly his reasoning behind that is, but I think that's one of the biggest problems from Trump. I think that if he would have done a better job surrounding himself with better people, he would have been thought of a lot more highly, at least for sane people. Again, Trump definitely made a lot of mistakes, and I mean, looking back on it, you know, Could he have done anything given the amount of shenanigans? Maybe, maybe not. But again, I think he definitely could have done a lot more. But again, I think the big problem looking back on it too is that he didn't get enough done. He didn't get enough done. And the stuff that he could have got done or did get done was so handcuffed, and so there's so much sabotaging going on amongst the left that it was almost meaningless. So again, the whole point here, I think, is very simple in that I think that these big tech platforms are going to double down on censorship, and I think that's going to create an even bigger. It's just going to amplify the political problems within society. It's just going to amplify the political problems within society because all it's going to do is it's going to create an even bigger echo chamber on the left, and I think it's going to create an echo chamber on the right as well. And that's going to be a really big problem. I think that there's going to be more polarization, and it all depends, though. It all depends because again, it all depends on what the Democrats decide to do. It all depends on what the Democrats decide to do because maybe the Democrats get absolutely nothing done. Maybe they sit on their butts and do absolutely nothing this whole time. That's possible. Um, but it's probably more likely that they push further and further left. That's probably what's going to happen. And if that does happen, things are going to get more polarized. And there's going to be a lot of shenanigans going on going forward, I think, as well. So the next thing I wanted to bring up is from Southern California, basically stay-at-home order extended for there. And again, the main point of this being is this is just more of the same. Again, these kind of things continue to come out, pretty much by the day, and that you have more and more areas that are just doubling down on lockdowns. These political leaders and a lot of these quote unquote medical health professionals have committed to never acknowledging that they were wrong, never acknowledging their mistakes when it comes to this whole situation. And this is the biggest reason why, personally, regardless of what you think about the lockdowns, regardless of what you think about the virus, I think you need to be highly questionable of the lockdowns because, again, these people have made it very clear that they don't care about the evidence. They don't care about the science because the science, the evidence, the data clearly shows that lockdowns are unnecessary. It clearly shows that lockdowns are unnecessary for the simple reason that they don't do anything. There's no data that shows that lockdowns clearly make a difference, right? I've said this a million times. They bring up Australia and New Zealand, but yet they completely ignore California, Ontario, Quebec, a lot of these European countries. They completely ignore a lot of other states as well, the New Yorks, New Jerseys of the world. Again, so they bring up a couple examples, but they completely ignore a far greater amount of examples that disprove their point, right? And this is the thing too that I brought up when it comes to lockdowns too, is that the onus is on the people that want the lockdowns to prove that they do anything. You can't have a reverse onus. You don't get to make these extraordinary claims. Again, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If you want to, proclaim that it's going to be doomsday unless we all stay at home, then you need some really hard data to back that up, right? You need some really hard data to back that up. And not only do they not have hard data, they don't even have any amount of data, right? They don't even have any amount of data. So this is why everybody should be against the lockdowns. Everybody should be against the lockdowns, and most people are. It's just the problem is that most people don't have the guts to stand up, whether that's because they're afraid of being, attacked or vilified, which I understand. But like I pointed out too, like these politicians, they're just going to keep doubling down until enough people stand up. So that is what I would suggest doing. Um, this is from Paul Mitchell saying, "Man behind Pfizer Vax warns, you know what, will be with us for the next 10 years, just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Oops, make that 10 years." Almost the same thing, right? Again, this is something that, again, you've heard a lot of people bring up before, that this may very well never go away. I mean, I've been saying this for quite a while, or at the very least, it may take a long time to go away. And this is one of the many fundamental errors behind the lockdown zealots. The lockdown zealots think that if we just lock down for 2 weeks or a month, we would be good to go. Well, no, that's not the case, right? That's not the case because, again, The only way that that would work is if literally everywhere on Earth did that at the same time. But that's never going to happen because, again, even if you did do that, and even if the cases did go down significantly, the borders would have to reopen at least to some extent, right? And all that would happen is that the virus would get back in and it would start spreading again. And there's many problems with that as well because if you do that, people's immune systems are going to be severely, not as good as normal. And number two, if you allow that, the strain is more likely to mutate into being deadlier and being deadlier, right? Uh, if you allow the virus to run its course, at least to some extent, it's a lot more likely that the virus mutates into being less deadly, right? Because people are already building up immunity, right? People are already building up immunity. If you introduce a virus or a disease into a population that has no immunity, that's never seen it, like the natives, for example, when the Europeans came over, it hit them a lot harder. Why? Because they had no immunity to it. It didn't hurt the Europeans as much because they had immunity. And it's the same stuff goes with this virus situation. Again, like this is like I say, one of the many problems with the lockdown zealots is that they're never going to admit they're wrong. I think it's the biggest one. But the other big ones too is that their plans make no sense, right? Their plans make absolutely no sense. The last thing I wanted to bring up here is from Sticks Hexenhammer 666 saying Biden wants to decriminalize knowingly transmitting AIDS to other people. What about the you know what? Again, it's very funny that the same people, again, this is legal in California, right? In California, I don't know what the laws are in Canada. I assume it's illegal, but I know in California, you don't even have to tell partners or potential partners that you have AIDS, because prior to that it was illegal to not tell people and to do stuff with them, right? But now you don't have to do that. And again, this is something that a lot of these leftists support, even though, again, AIDS is a far deadlier disease. I guess the virus isn't a disease. At least, AIDS is far more deadly than the virus, right? But they're perfectly fine with people spreading that. But you're the worst person in the world if you accidentally spread the virus, right? Again, it's very, very um, ironic and funny, just the amount of double standards and how much of a hypocrites these people are, right? It's very funny. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Like I said, check out those links below. Follow me in those other platforms. Again, if you want to donate, you can do that as well. I appreciate whatever support I can get, but like I say, check out those links below and stay tuned for more.